So I am live. I am just waiting for Rosemary, who is going to be my moderator. She's going to be managing any iconic influences we may have on this live feed. So I'll just wait a few minutes for her because she's going to be here soon. It's very strange, these. All right, so I'm going to... Rosemary, I'm ready. It's a little strange, these YouTube lives. You're kind of talking to a screen with people listening from all over the world. So it's a little weird. It's a little strange. I'll just wait a couple of minutes. So I hope everybody's well. Hope everybody's enjoying the last couple of weeks of this decade as we move into 2020, as we move into clear seeing 2020 vision. What are we clear seeing? I've had some clear insights about myself the last couple of days, which I'm going to share in today's live. So, Rosemary's here. So, Rosemary is the moderator here, I should say. So I'm just going to make her a moderator now. So there you go, Rosemary. So I think all you need to do is, if we see any troll-like comments, I think you just... I think you just need to click next to them and get rid of them. So I'm going to crack on anyway. So welcome everybody, friends, foe, trolls, bots. You're all welcome here. Okay, so I did a live a couple of days ago and it went quite disastrously wrong. So I had all these things I wanted to speak about, but I kind of got sideswept by a number of trolls, should I say, and the mind parasite that is Wakito came into them and then came into me, and I gave my power away to these trolls and I let them overtake me a little bit. But today I am back in the belly of the beast that is YouTube Live. So I'm going to tell you a little story of why I've decided to come back into the belly of the beast, because when I was 6, I was in Tenerife and I just learned how to swim. And my father, for a moment, went out to grab a towel. And in the time that he grabbed a towel, some drunk tourists managed to dive into the pool. They put my head under the water. They nearly drowned me. My father had to come in and save me from these drunk people. But what my dad did is, once he'd saved me and rescued me from this sea of drunkenness, should we say, he then made me get back in the water straight away. And that's what I wanted to do with this live, is I wanted to get back into the water, and I wanted to do and share and do what I love the most, which is to share with people, to share my insights, to share things that I've experienced myself, and to share what I share with clients as well. So that's the reason for these lives, and that's what I will continue to do. So today's topic is nurturing versus fixing, and I'm going to explain this, and I'm going to use myself as an example. So I teach about parts work. So I teach people what I call the 3 Ps. So knowing your own parts, knowing your own patterns, and knowing your own programs. So of course, whenever you are teaching people these things, you're also a student of these things, right? We're all students and we're all teachers, and that's what we're here to do. So I rightfully took the live that we had the other day, and I decided to turn it into a teaching experience for myself. So I'm just going to go through a teaching experience with yourself. So the parts that I noticed, so if you notice at the end of the video, I get very mad with this troll. I say some swear words, and yeah, I wasn't the most graceful version of myself, should I say. I was more in the humanistic, defend animal, that nature that we have inside of us all, which we should not deny. We should never deny this nature either. So as I was, as this troll attacked me, I attacked back. Rosemary's saying they needed it. Yeah, they did need it. And there is an element of, you do need to defend yourself in this reality. If you are walking down the street and somebody mugs you, you can't just send them love and light. You need to be able to defend yourself. So what I discovered about myself is when I was in this teenage energy of, telling this troll to F off, and I was in my teenage energy, and I'm going to explain how I uncovered this. So I came off the live, I was really frustrated, I was really upset, but I thought, what can I learn from it? And I did a session on myself that I would do with clients, and what I realized is that part came through that told this troll to F off was a teenage aspect of myself that was fragmented from me and that hadn't integrated. So it was actually a wonderful opportunity to turn a tormentor into a mentor, and that's what I did. So I looked at what this part was trying to say to me, and I did a session on myself. And the reason why I reacted in the way that I did was because when I was young and when I was going through school, I was quite severely bullied. I was bullied by both males and females, but there was this one particular bully who she would always she would move between being my friend and then wanting to beat me up, being my friend and wanting to beat me up. And I always, when I did the session with myself, I took myself back to a memory of that, of when I was walking to school. And she said, what did she say? I'm going to have you. That's the word they say in Manchester. So if anybody wonders where my accent's from, it's from Manchester in the north of England. So that's one of the things that they will say, I'm going to have you. I'm going to have you. And she used to say this to me all the time. And then one day I turned around and I said, okay, do it. And I think that's the aspect that came through in the YouTube live. I was like, you can't say all these things to me. So I did some work with that part. I integrated her into my being, but then I went on to what's the pattern here? What's the pattern? And the pattern is that I have a people pleasing part. I have a perfectionist part. I want people to see the best. We all want people to see our best version, right? It's very hard to be vulnerable, but the reason why I left that video up is because I believe in showing people our vulnerabilities. I believe that, integrating our humanness with our essence is one of the most divine things that we can do. So my pattern was this pattern of always wanting to please people. So when I was coming out the live, I said, I'm going to do that video again. I'm going to do it for the video again. I'm going to record it. I'm not going to do it live. I'm going to do it completely perfect. So my idea was that I was going to do this perfect version of what shame and guilt means and what the programming is behind that. And then Tony said to me, that's your perfectionist part speaking. I was like, yeah, okay, all right. So I know my pattern. So that was the part. The part was the teenager, the fragmented teenager that got bullied as a kid. And then the pattern was this people pleasing pattern that I have. Underground Star says, I'm so glad you're back. Yeah, I've re-entered the belly of the beast, Underground Star. So I was just saying, Underground Star, I was noticing my parts, patterns and programs, which is what I teach people. I noticed them in myself in this live. So the part was the teenage part that was fragmented, that got bullied. The pattern was this people pleasing. I always want to make sure people like me as well. That's another thing. I'm in this prison of what people think about me, and I admit it. There is a channel that I watch called Lucid Living that a subscriber put me onto, and Orkset, who is the creator of that channel, she thinks exactly how I think, but she doesn't have the care what people think program that I'm in. So I went to her channel because I thought, I'm still in a program. What program is this that I'm in? I'm in this people-pleasing perfect program. Where does this come from? I need to know the answers because I'm a Scorpio and I'm a detective and I like to delve into everything and understand it. So I watched her live that she recently did, and she said something so interesting that I found very insightful, very wise, and something I went on to explore after this live that I did. So she's mixed race, and she's what I would call a modern mystic. And she was talking about how she's seeing Black women now being, their archetype is now being put into what white women have had done for a long time. And she was talking about the doll archetype and the idea of putting Black women into dolls. And the reason why they've won all these pageants is because they want, like how white women were, to be dolls. And I thought about this. I thought, wow, this Barbie programming. So stick with me with this, because this is quite an insight for me. I have had this programming from being a very, very young child about being perfect and having the almost Stepford wife, you know, having the perfect home, having the perfect relationship, having the perfect appearance. And then I was thinking about what she was saying about dolls, and she said dolls trap consciousness, right? So if you think about when somebody's messing around with a voodoo doll, they are they're binding somebody's spirit to a doll to hurt them. Well, white women's spirit has been bound to Barbie dolls and being perfect since the 1950s. We've been in this program of being perfect, and it's bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. None of us are perfect. We are flawed. We are humans. We're not here to be perfect. And what I found really interesting was that the creator of the Barbie doll was called Ruth Handler. Ruth Handler is her name. So she is literally handling the consciousness of all these white women that have put themselves into this Barbie doll bullshit thing that we're all supposed to represent. And this perfect Stepford wife. I mean, look at all the Stepford wives. They're all white. Barbie dolls were all white until the 1980s. Sex in the City programming, they're all white. So white women have had this perfect program in place on them. So she's got a really good channel to check out if you want to check that out. So then I came to the conclusion, after this perfect programming that I'm aware I'm in, I started to think about it, and I started to think how we are obviously we're in a patriarchal system, right? So we're in a male dominated system which wants to fix everything. So we want to fix the perfectionist. I wanted to fix that video. I wanted to be perfect and put a better example of myself out for the world to see. This is why I'm doing this live as well. Now, this is part of my own training, that I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to be a wild woman, because what did the church do? So before the Barbie programming, the church burnt the witches. The church burnt the wild woman. Okay? And this is what we're seeing now when people think differently, when people go against the narrative that is out in the collective. They are burned like witches. Like I was being burned like a witch. And if I was probably to go back to some past lives, I probably have that somewhere. Being English, I probably have that somewhere in my lineage, and somewhere in my consciousness, in the consciousness that I have, I probably have that persecution witch programming somewhere. And I thought it's interesting that trolls are now becoming the modern day church. They're policing everything that people say. They're policing people's opinions. They are policing what we think, what we say, how our thoughts should be. My thoughts was manipulated in that live feed because I couldn't flow with my own consciousness, because my consciousness was being interfered with, which I have now realized was a chink in my own armor. So this is why I talk to people about becoming whole and piecing all those fragmented pieces of yourselves back together. But going back to the patriarchy and the matriarchy, we're in this patriarchal system which wants to fix everything, right? We've burnt the witches. We want to fix everything. That's why in psychology, when somebody is diagnosed with something, if somebody's diagnosed with schizophrenia, we don't nurse it. We don't nurture it. We fix it. That person's seeing things, so that obviously that person's broken. If somebody has depression, we don't nurture depression. We fix it. When depression is deep rest, it's a frozen feeling. Your spirit is crying out for deep rest. It's crying out to be rebirthed. It's crying out to go into the creative dark womb, but we won't allow it. We fix it. We fix it, right? BPD, borderline personality disorder. If you can nurture somebody with that diagnosis, then they can be some of the greatest intuitives out there, because they're deep thinkers, they're intuitive. Depression brings some of the greatest art that we have. But no, we want to fix it. The patriarchal system, let's fix it, let's drug it, let's not nurture it. And that's what I realized about what I was trying to do the other day, is that I wasn't nurturing my part. I wanted to fix it. I wasn't nurturing the fact that I had a moment of weakness where a parasite in somebody else affected a parasite in me. That's in essence that was happening. That wasn't my true self and the person who was trolling me true self speaking. That was a dark dance between different aspects of ourselves. This is why the love and light thing doesn't work as well, because we're avoiding aspects of ourselves. We're denying some of the greatest powerful aspects of ourselves. The inner witch that I spoke about, she's powerful. She's powerful. She's wise. She's the wise woman that in, times gone by before the church, the wise woman would have been the person that you sought out in your community to help you with your ailments. And now we've got rid of it with fucking pills. Sorry, I'm getting very passionate about this, but it's true, right? We're fixing everything instead of nurturing stuff. And I would just, what's going to happen? What would happen, should I say, if we took a moment when we're in these depressive states to say, you know what, I'm depressed. Fuck the gratitude list. Let's write an anti-gratitude list. Let's write down all the things that are wrong in my life. And then let's start to work on these things. Let's nurture these things. Let's nurture the aspects of us that aren't perfect. Let's nurture the aspects of us that, maybe society doesn't like, because they're some of the greatest gems and greatest wisdom that we can give to society. People who've got schizophrenia, if we were nurturing them, they would be some of the greatest mystics that we have. We are, as a society, in the patriarchal system that we are in now, we are bypassing people's gifts. And this is why the wild woman is rising, because the wild woman can rebirth this. This is why we're seeing the rise of the divine feminine. We're gone are the times where we want to mimic Sex in the City. We don't want to be, a slave to shopping. We don't want to be a slave to what men think. We don't want to be a slave to needing a husband. We want to be the wild essence that we were birthed to be. We're part animal. We're part animal. We have a physical body and we're part animal. So anyway. So there's no trolls in the chat, which is lovely. Obviously my astro, what can I call you? What did I call you before? My archonic security. Rosemary's done a really good job. So it's really nice to not have this experience with trolls, but it was also really good to have that experience and to be able to change something that's very negative into something that's positive, right? I've grown from that experience, and that's the path of the alchemist. And this is why all this toxic positivity and toxic spirituality, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, because the path of an alchemist is to turn that weakness where I let that Wetiko virus infect my brain. I've turned that into something else. I've alchemized it. I've come back into the belly of the beast, and we can all do this. We all have the power to do this if we integrate the different aspects of ourselves. So that was my message today, about integration, about nurturing, about if you're a woman, bring that wild woman back, bring her back. Let's not burn the witches. Let's bring them back, and dig into that. Forget the Barbie programming that, that so many, the Stepford wife, Barbie programming of being perfect, that so many, of us women have been, and let's bring them together. Let's not just, we don't have to be all light. We don't have to be all dark. We can be made up of both, and we can use them appropriately. Sometimes I say this, if you were to meet, I live in Mexico, so this is an analogy to Mexico, but the energy that I meet a narco with, one of the cartel, if I was to come in contact with the cartel, it'd be a different energy than I would meet a nun. So I'm using those two extreme versions because this is where I live right now, and my learning experiences from the outer reality that I live in, and that's what yours should be, and that's what a mystic does. So what a mystic does, it isn't anything, it's people who are self-appointed mystics sometimes give themselves a bit of a grandiose title and description of what they actually do. But what all a mystic is doing is that they are the observer, not the absorber. So they're not absorbing society. They're not allowing society to program them. They are not allowing society to dictate their parts and their patterns. They are observing reality so that they can understand and see things. And that's all a mystic's doing. And everybody has that ability to do that. But you have to be integrated to be a mystic, because you have to have different energies and you have to move in between different energies. It's not like being moving into altars, like somebody who would be seen under mind control. It's about knowing your human algorithm, so your different parts and your different aspects, the archetypes. The archetypes are to the psyche what organs are to the body. right? So you have a variety of archetypes inside of you. You could look at it as you have the zodiac within, if you want to take it on a more cosmological level. You have the zodiac within, right? So you have the archetypes within. So you have all these different parts within you. Okay, so you need to recognize them. And I didn't recognize that when I had that trolling experience, because that teenage bullying part was fragmented. I couldn't recognize it in that moment. But because I've done the work on that, I've used my outer experience as a learning for my inner growth, so that I can create the dreamlike state that I want in the outer reality, right? Because that's what we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be actors. We are not actors in the role of life. We are creators. We're here to create. That's what we're supposed to do. But you can't just become a creator. You have to work through some of these aspects so that you can be embodied. So then you become a creator. And that's what the New Age misses out. It misses out the whole embodiment experience that you've got to go through, all the archetypes that you've got to integrate, all the shadow that you've got to integrate, the trauma that you've got to turn into triumphs. They miss that aspect out and just say, oh, you can just be a creator being. You can write on your mirror, you know, money comes easily to me and you'll expect checks in the post. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Quantum physics tells you it doesn't work like that. It's a reality of cause and effect, right? So there needs to be some action in, and this is where the masculine, so I was talking about the feminine early with nurturing, but this is where the masculine can come in. The masculine can come in and help you. You know, the feminine would birth the idea, and then the masculine would put it into action. And this is the alchemical marriage that needs to happen inside of you. And this is why all them twin flame teachings are bullshit, because the alchemical marriage needs to happen within, and then you can start to maneuver this life and this world and become that creator being that you were born to be. You're born to be a creator. And you know why society doesn't like you being a creator? You can't cage a creator. You cannot cage a creator. You cannot cage the wild. You can cage those that are programmed. So when we are being actors in life, we are programmed. When we're wearing a mask, this is why I kept that live up, because I don't want to be an actor. I don't want to be an actor. I'm a creator. I'm a sovereign being. And when people say that it's impossible to be a sovereign being because we're in a tribal society, well, yeah, we're in a tribal society, but that doesn't mean that in that tribe that everybody that's in there doesn't have their own individual essence that they can bring down into this reality. So some people are great artists, some people are great seers, some people are great empaths. We all have our individual gifts that we can bring to reality, but they don't have space to come down into reality. Inspiration can't come, spirit can't come if there's no place for them to go. So this is why I'm talking about nurturing. So the balancing of the yin and the yang and bringing those inside and marrying those inside of you. So anyway, I've been speaking for 20 minutes now. So let me just see. I'm just gonna. Paul from Newcastle says the best investment is in yourself. So is that which Newcastle? Is that, are you a Brit? Are you a Geordie, or is there a Newcastle somewhere else? But yeah, the best investment is in yourself, because then you can create the dream that you want. I do an exercise sometimes with my clients where I get them to tell me that their best version of themselves, so create a future timeline. And then what we do is we work back to see what are the parts, what are the roadblocks that are blocking that person in reaching that timeline. And we work backwards, right? We work backwards in not getting the roadblocks out of the way. We don't bypass them. We don't, we almost push them over so they become the path. And this is what one of my clients said to me in a session that I had an hour ago. She was saying we're pushing the roadblocks forward because we're making that path for ourselves. The obstacles become the way, right? And then that space for that light to come internally comes, and it shines a light for your path. And that's how you become the creator being on your path as well. You shine from within, and it makes room for the path. So thankful for Rosemary and her troll protection skills. Rosemary says she's just unlocked part of me now. I am God. Yeah, we're all God. We all have an essence of God in us, and that's what God wanted. God I'm not a religious person, but I do have a very deep faith in something, and it's something that religion doesn't talk about. I think the religion that we're worshipping is the demiurge. It's the demiurge. It's what the Gnostics would call the demiurge. But there is something that is higher than us, and it wants us to bring that spark of essence to earth. And that is, when we talk about being gods and goddesses, that's what it is. It's integrating the humanness, and it's bringing down essence. It's what I hope some of you can get from this channel. It's that true sovereign self. So, Psychic Protection Sanctuary, I appreciate what you're saying about being a mystic, and I sometimes struggle with understanding my role as a mystic, and you have good food for thought. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, but I think we're all mystics. I think we're all shamans. What does a shaman do? I lived in Peru for 18 months, and I managed an ayahuasca retreat center, and I served ayahuasca. And I worked with indigenous shamans. So I didn't work with gringo shamans. I worked with indigenous shamans. And they always say a shaman has two faces, right? As the light and the dark. And the reason why a shaman has two faces is because you need to have two faces to be able to go into somebody's underworld. When I'm doing the work that I do with clients, I am almost not giving them my light. I'm borrowing them my light so they can navigate their underworld. They're doing the work, and I'm just guiding them through their underworld with my light, because they might not have so much of their own in that moment until they've done the work of integrating. And when you're going through your shadow, you can't see your shadows. It's called a shadow for a reason. You can't see it, and sometimes it needs somebody else to guide you and point you through it. And that's what we do. When I'm with clients in sessions, we journey together. We journey through their underworld together. And that's what a shaman does. A shaman's working in both the conscious and the unconscious, very similar to what I'm doing, working in the unconscious and the conscious. And you need to be able to have, you need to have gone through your own. That's the first thing. The initiation into healing is doing your own healing, and it's an ongoing journey. It never ends. It never ends, just like we've seen on that live. I'm not through my healing. I've got tons of work to do on myself. But the path of being humble helps you do that work, because when you're not humble and you don't, you can't see your own bullshit, you can't see your own Watiko, then you're blinded as well. You're blinded to it as well. So just going back, we're all our own shamans, we're all our own mystics, we're our own gurus, we're our own healers. And yes, of course, we have way showers, we have guides, we have facilitators that help us on that journey. But ultimately, it's us. So Paul from Newcastle, yes, northeast of England, pet. Oh, Paul from Newcastle might be able to understand my accent because he's a fellow northerner. Yeah, so that's all I have for today, guys. But yeah, if anybody has any questions that they want to ask, feel free to ask me. But I just want to leave you with, just use your outer experience. Use your outer experience. Start becoming that observer instead of the absorber, absorbing everything. An energy vampire comes before it, in front of you, and you absorb it. This is why even the empath teachings are skewed, because empaths are very powerful people, but they are being disempowered by some of the teachings out there by telling them that they have to take on everybody's pain. No, you don't have to take on everybody's pain. You can become what's known as an empowered empath. That's what Jesus was. Jesus was an empowered empath. Jesus also didn't take shit. When he went into the money lenders and he pulled over the table because he was annoyed that people were borrowing interest on money because it was morally wrong. It was the start of, what we would probably call modern Satanism. He got angry, and it's okay to get angry. Righteous anger is a good thing to use. It's your fire in your belly. So yeah, I just want to leave you with that I know it's very cliche to say that everything is within, but if you have the whole zodiac and the cosmos and the archetypes and everything else, then yeah, it's just a matter of tapping into all of that. Underground Star says, this was so inspiring. I fell into the troll trap 2 this week. Thank you for this live. Yeah, thank you for your help as well with this this troll situation, because it is a bit of a trap, and it's actually really upsetting when it happens, because none of us want people to say nasty things to us. It's hurtful, it hurts your feelings. And there's a saying in England, I don't know if it's anywhere else in the world, but sticks and stones don't break my bones, but names sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, I want to say that statement is bullshit, because names do hurt people. When we are speaking, we are casting spells. This is why it's if you look at the people who are really at the top of their game and watch how carefully they speak. It's something I'm learning at the moment. So every word, when someone's at the top of the game, every word that they say is it's not like they're acting when you watch somebody that's at the top of the game. It's more like they understand all the different archetypes and parts that are going on inside in that moment, and they are allowing the true voice to speak, and not the hurt part to speak, which is how most of the time it's a dark dance between humans, with hurt parts speaking to one another. So yeah, the word is the sword. Yes, it is our sword. So are you going to be a psychic surgeon, and are you going to heal? Are you going to help heal people, or are you going to be a murderer? Because that's what you can do with your words. You can either be a surgeon or a murderer. So yeah, be very careful with your words. So Heather Grace says, IRL trolls are pretty bad as well. IRL, what's that? I'm not familiar what IRL is. So anyway, if you have liked this live stream of my insights and some of my self-awareness, please please subscribe. It really helps the channel. Take a look at my website. I've got a newsletter on there, and I've got some things that I'm planning for the new year. So if you head over to True Sovereign Self and subscribe to that, you'll get more interaction from myself with the things that I'm doing in the real life trolls that I'm doing in the new year. Sorry, I was multitasking badly then. I've got a really bad multitasking for a woman. Real life trolls. Oh yes, sorry Heather. Sorry, I'm not down with the kids' language of but yeah, real life trolls. Wow, yeah, the Agent Smiths. It's interesting, isn't it, when you get one? When you see somebody switch. In fact, this is a good challenge, a bit of homework that I'm going to do on myself, but might be a good idea for you guys. Is we've got Christmas coming up. So Christmas is a time where we interact with our families. So have an awareness of your parts, and then have an awareness of their parts, and see how they interact together. So, when Ram Dass says, if you think you're enlightened, go and spend a week with your family. Do that over Christmas, and just see how much, sorry, I just got pinged in my ear from my Facebook account. I'll just close it down. See how your parts interact. See if you can meet them with self energy. So what is self energy? It's the 9 C's. Let's see if I can remember them. Connectedness, confidence, clarity, calmness, compassion. I'm going to forget the other ones now. Did I say clarity, confidence, connectedness, consciousness? So see if you can meet somebody from that place, your family and friends, and then see how it changes your reality as well. When you meet somebody with self energy, it's very different than meeting somebody from a part. So could you imagine when I had that trolling experience, if I'd have met that person from self energy, and if I would have said, look, I can see you're really hurt right now, and that's why you're projecting this at me, and I'm sorry that you're hurting, and I know that life is shit. It hits you with shit all the time, and it's hard, and I'm sorry, my friend, that it's hard, but I'm not to do with your suffering. That would have been meeting the troll, and that's the place that I am aiming to get to. And if we can all meet people like that, how much darkness could we dissolve in the world? How much darkness could we dissolve? So I will leave it there. Thank you for listening. Much appreciated. Thank you, Rosemary, so much for doing a wonderful job. Next time I do one of these lives, I'm gonna, if you will do this job again for me, it'll be much appreciated. And yeah, we're all students, we're all teachers. So please leave your comments in the comments below. And I love hearing from people and, you know, understanding their experience and the research that they've come across, because we're all in this together. This collective dream is shared. So let's share it wisely. All right, bye guys. Take care.